Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. For my card, I'll be using the brand new Lovely Layers Tulips die set. This set is absolutely beautiful. Tulips are my favorite flower, so I was so excited when I saw this as part of their release. I have a piece of white cardstock and I'll be creating a little scene. I'm starting off with the Distress Oxide ink Tumbled glass color. Put that for the sky. The next color is Spun Sugar. So I know it does look a little odd to have some pink right there underneath the blue, but it'll make sense here shortly. And then for the dirt, I have Gathered Twigs. I thought this was a really nice color for the dirt. So there's my little background, and I did spritz it with some water just for that little distressed look. I'll put some ATG tape on the back of this piece and add it to an A2 size card base. Every spring, I look forward to visiting the Mount Vernon Tulip Fields in Western Washington. Here are a couple of pictures that I've taken over the years. The pink picture was the inspiration for my card. I really wanted to create a pink tulip field. My card will feature 9 pink tulips, and I also have the stems and the leaves. I've assembled all but one. I wanted to show how easy these are to put together. I used 4 different shades of pink cardstock, putting some of Honeybee Stamp's liquid adhesive on the back, and I'll just layer these all together. One thing I love about the Lovely Layer die sets, they leave a beautiful etch detail on your paper. I'm gluing all of the pieces down flat. You could add some foam dimension underneath some of the pieces, or you could curl up the petals. But since I'm adding 9 flowers to my card, I don't want to have too much dimension. I'll start with the back row, and I'll glue down the flower portion at a slight angle. So I'll start with the one all the way on the left, and then each of the flowers will overlap slightly. I want it to look like a very full tulip field. I'll attach the first stem, that way I can get the placement correct for my second flower. So now I'll add the rest of the flowers for the back row. If you've ever had the opportunity to visit the Mount Vernon Tulip Fields, they are amazing, and there are acres and acres of tulips. So you can just stand there and look out what seems like forever, and you just see tulips. So the pink I have in the background is supposed to look like more tulips, so that field continuing on. So now I have the back row completed. I'll start working on the front row. I am adding some foam dimension underneath the front row pieces, and I'm using 2 different thicknesses of dimension. I have Honeybee Stamp's foam strips using the black color, putting that just on the top portion where it sits on top of that back row of tulips. And then for the bottom portion of the tulips, I'm using the regular Scotch foam dimension since it is a little bit thicker. So just one at a time, adding all of those tulips, and I'm ending up with a total of 9. And then I'll also attach the stems. Now I do have them going off the edge of the card, but that's okay. I'll just flip this over and trim those off. For the sentiment on the card, I'll be using the Bitty Buzzwords Bloom set. I have the stamps and also the honey cut dies. I've already cut out the word bloom. The main word I cut out from some black cardstock. I'll be layering it on some green cardstock, and this is the same color as the tulip stems. And then I'll layer it one more time on some green mirror cardstock. And I'll offset this slightly, so you're only going to see a little bit of that green mirror cardstock peeking out from behind. I've already stamped out part of the sentiment, and I wanted to stamp out the rest here on video. So I have that same light green cardstock, using the intense black ink, and now I have the sentiment, "May your day bloom with happiness." And I'll just place the sentiment underneath the flowers in the front row. Now there are some areas where there's extra dimension with the stems and the leaves, so I am adding some foam dimension, just cutting some teeny tiny portions, fitting them in where I need them. Then I'll use liquid adhesive for the rest. I just didn't want part of the sentiment sagging down between the leaves and the stems. So once those are attached, one final finishing touch, I'm using some of the small clear dewdrops. I'll add 2 in the upper right hand corner, 2 in the lower left hand corner, and 1 to the right of the tulips. I'm adding a drop of liquid adhesive first, then I'm using an embellishment wand to pick them up since they don't have adhesive on them already. The tulip fields always make me so happy. I can't wait for them to start blooming this year. It's usually around late March or early April. And I will admit I tend to hang out in the pink tulip field section the longest. So there is my finished card, and I did end up making 2 using this design. I had so much fun assembling all those pink tulips. For my next card design, I'm using a sheet of pattern paper from the Modern Spring collection. Beautiful light blue design. Wanted to add just a little extra color to the edges. So I'm using the Daydream color from Catherine Pooler, just putting a very light coat around the top and bottom edge, since you're not going to see the middle portion. Next, I used Honeybee Stamp's Basketweave Slimline die, and I cut it out from some white pearlescent cardstock. I'll add that basket weave piece to the center of the card. I layered the background on some dark teal cardstock. I put my card front onto a card base. And all of my cards in this video are American Standard A2 size. Now for this card, I'll be assembling all 3 of the tulip sizes. So there's a large one where the petals are starting to open, so it's more toward the end of its life. There's the medium size and then also the bud. I selected several different colors of the teal blue colored cardstock. And I'm just layering all of these pieces together. For the center of the large flower, I have 2 different shades of yellow cardstock. All 3 styles of the tulips have that beautiful etched detail. For the card I photographed, I did ink the edges of the petals using that same Daydream ink color. I just forgot to do it when I was recording the video. But even without adding that extra ink, the flowers are still beautiful. Using different colors of cardstock really adds some dimension to the flowers. For the largest flower, I did curl up a few of the petals, but for the smaller 2, I'm leaving them flat. So now I have all of those assembled. I'll lay them out on my card. Before adhering the flowers down, I'll first attach the stems. So I have the largest stem for that largest flower. Then I'll add the medium flower stem to the right and the final stem off to the left. And that little bud flower will be tucked right underneath that larger leaf. I'm using liquid adhesive to attach the stems and the leaves. And for the flowers, I will be popping those up using some foam dimension. I want to make sure to get the stems placed down first. And then I did cut out 1 extra leaf. Just wanted to tuck that in next to the large flower. So I'm using some more of the foam strips from Honeybee Stamps. I love these strips. You can easily add them to your project and just cut them to whatever size you need. They're also nice because it's not real thick dimension. Sometimes you want just that little tiny bit of dimension, not enough where it'll be hard to mail a card. I'll attach the very final tulip bud. Just remove the release paper. I've never actually seen teal colored tulips before, but I couldn't resist it for my card. For the sentiment, I'm using the same Bitty Buzzwords bloom set. I've already stamped and cut out the pieces, so the full sentiment will be "Live life in full bloom." For the word bloom, I did that double layer again with some of that dark teal for the very background piece where you just see a peek of it. I attached some scrap cardstock on the right side of the word bloom just to keep it level with the tulip stem. And for the rest of the sentiment, I'm using some of the thin foam strips, just adding it underneath on the right side and then also that little gap between the 2 stems. So you can see I need just a teeny tiny piece. After placing the sentiment on the card, I realized even that teeny tiny piece was too big. So I'm pulling it up and trimming off a little bit more. And I have liquid adhesive on the back and I'll adhere this underneath that medium-sized tulip. The buzzword sets are always fun. There's the larger word, then you can mix and match some of the smaller sentiments. To finish off the card, I'm adding some of the new Cool Pearls. Use some of this silver color. And I also decided to add a little bit of sparkle to the center of the large tulip. I used a glitter brush for that. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. And you can see in the photos how I added that little bit of ink to the petals. I absolutely love this die set and can't wait to use it again. Now here's another look at the 4 cards I made using Honeybee Stamps Lovely Layers Tulips Honey Cut die set. If you are interested in the products I used in this video, I do have links provided in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.